If you're still having trouble figuring out what deep sight weapons that you want to craft before Lightfall comes out, look no further. If you didn't know, Bungie made a change where you can pick up those deep sight red border weapons now once a day instead of what previously was once a week. In this video specifically, I'm going to be covering a variety of weapons in the kinetic, energy, and heavy slot, focused on PvE perks that are going to be really good and PvP perks that are going to be fantastic in the Crucible. Now, just note that I have 20 weapons here. I have them all chaptered out here in the YouTube video, so keep that in mind. So if you're looking for a specific weapon, or maybe a weapon with certain roles, or even just a specific weapon type, again, those will be here in the chapters. Now, just note, every single one of these weapons is going to require you to have 5 red borders, whether completed or dismantled, whatever. It's going to require 5 red borders to get these weapons, except for one of them, which I'm going to cover at the end. So first up, we're going to talk about the Peace of Mind pulse rifle. We're going to start with those kinetic weapons or the primary slot. So Peace of Mind, this is a rapid fire pulse rifle, and if we zoom out here, again, the way we get this is from the war table at the helm, so keep that in mind. Now, the main reason to pick this up is because it has perks that are going to be good for both PvE and PvP. Specifically on the PvP side, when it comes to rapid fire pulses in general, the damage fall off is really far. So when you're getting killed across the map by a rapid fire pulse where you're like, this should not be hitting me for that much damage from that far away, its damage fall off is just really far, so you have to keep that in mind. So going over the perks, if we look at trade column number 1 here, again, PvE wise, overflow is going to be fantastic here. Again, when you pick up special heavy ammo, it's going to reload the magazine beyond its normal capacity. And then in trade column number 2, a good option here is Adrenaline Junkie, allowing for bonus damage when you get grenade kills or just final blows with the weapon. Again, this stacks up to ×5. Keep that in mind. And then maybe Focus Fury, but I wouldn't recommend that one. When it comes to PvP, again, we have Perpetual Motion Enhanced, which is going to be great. The weapon gains bonus stability, handling, and reload while your wielder's in motion. Pretty much after you sprint for a short time, you'll gain those bonuses, and that can stack. Keep that in mind. And then other perks here for PvP, again, you could go Harmony, final blows with other weapons, improve this weapon's damage and performance for a short duration. That'll be good. Adrenaline Junkie, like I mentioned, won't be bad for that bonus damage. And then something like Elemental Capacitor, potentially, depending on what subclass you're rocking, Solar for increased reload, Arc for increased handling, Void for increased stability, and Stasis for moderately improved recoil control and increased movement speed when you're aiming down sights. I assume Strand will have some sort of bonus here when Lightfall comes, but again, this thing has roles good for PvE and PvP. The next one we're going to talk about is the Submission. Again, this is the SMG that you can get from the Vow of the Disciple. Yes, you need 5 of them. It might be a little bit of a grind to get this thing to be able to craft it at the Enclave, but again, I think it's going to be worth it. Now, honestly, same thing with Peace of Mind. It has perks that are both good for PvE and PvP. So on the PvE side, trade column number 1, we have Subsistence. Defeating targets is going to partially reload the magazine. It can also come with Overflow, which isn't too bad. In trade column number 2, we do have Frenzy here, which again, being in combat for an extended time increases damage handling and reload until you're out of combat. That's going to be really good for something like PvE. Also comes with Swashbuckler. Again, similar to Adrenaline Junkie, but this focuses on melee. So if you get that melee kill, it's going to have the damage bump up to ×5. But again, if you just do, specific just one-shot kills with the weapon in and of itself, again, you'll eventually get up to ×5. But looking at PvP, again, this thing does come with Perpetual Motion, which we talked about previously, getting that bonus stability and handling and reload after sprinting. And then we also have Harmony again. Final blows with other weapons are going to improve the damage and performance of this thing. If you're rocking SMG Sniper, SMG Fusion, whatever, again, you get a kill with a different weapon, switch to this thing, it's going to have that bonus damage, which is going to be pretty good. You can also get Killing Wind, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be a huge benefit to this SMG. Final blows grant increased mobility, range, and handling for a short time. Honestly, I would offer the extra damage from Harmony with this thing, but again, like I said, it has good roles for both PvE and PvP. Sticking with the Vow of the Disciple, we're going to look at the Deliverance. This is the Stasis fusion rifle that comes with this thing. Again, Vow of the Disciple might take you a little while to get. You do need 5. Looking at these perks, we have like a solid just assortment of perks. Trade column number 1, we have Steady Hands, Perpetual Motion, Cornered, pairing Cornered with something like Surrounded, allowing for that bonus weapon damage when more enemies are around. Tap the Trigger, Harmony, let's see, Adrenaline Junkie. You could do Bait and Switch as well, deal damage with all equipped weapons within a short time to give this weapon a damage boost. Successful warm-up, each final blow increases charge time and draw speed. That's great, but the thing I want you to focus on, specifically when it comes to stasis builds, if you're going to run stasis, especially on Warlock, I would recommend looking into Demolitionist, which kills with the weapon, generate grenade energy, and when you use your grenade ability, it'll reload the weapon, and then pairing that with something like Chill Clip. Direct hits on the top half of the magazine cause a detonation and slows nearby targets. So again, if you hit the slow with, twice on a target, it'll freeze them. The really good thing with this weapon in general, especially when it comes to PvE, is the synergy it can have when it comes to Warlocks and Hunters, Titans. Again, if you have those stasis builds, this is going to be fantastic, especially with the Osmiomancy gauntlets on the Warlock. It is disgusting, the synergy you can get with this. Like, you never actually have to reload. You just, throw your grenade. It's going to automatically reload it. You're slowing, you're freezing every target on sight. That's spreading because of, the aspects, fragments, all that great stuff. I can get into that later. But I did drop 3 stasis builds, one for each class, Warlock, Hunter, and Titan, already here on the channel. I'll put those in the description if you want to check those out. But again, as tough as it might be to get this, fusion rifle, I'd recommend you pick it up. Next up, I want to look at the Austringer. Again, this is the hand cannon. Love to see it. The classic Destiny 1 hand cannon look here. But if you want to pick it up, all you have to do is come to the Crown of Sorrow here in the helm. And again, pick it up right here. Now, with this weapon specifically, I want you to focus on the PvP things that you can do with this. So, trait column number 1, we have Eye of the Storm. Again, the weapon becomes more accurate and boosts handling as your health gets lower. We also have Snapshot here, which is going to increase that aim down sight time. Again, it's going to make it feel really snappy. But then we also have Air Assault here. Now, with the changes to airborne effectiveness, I think this might be good. So, Final Blows grant a stacking bonus to airborne effectiveness. Final Blows, while airborne, grant increased stack. So, again, it's going to be very helpful when it comes to, trying to hit targets while you're in air, jumping, whatever. So, trait call number 2. I feel like there's only 2 options here. First up is Opening Shot. Improve accuracy and range on the opening shot of attack. And then Rangefinder. Aiming this weapon increases its effective range and zoom magnification. So, that's the one downside, is people don't like that increase of zoom magnification, even if it is not a lot. But again, if you offer Opening Shot or Rangefinder, I would go either one. But Eye of the Storm's going to be great here. Air Assault is going to be great. Whatever combo you decide to choose, make sure you max out the range on this thing with ricochet rounds or high caliber rounds for that flinch. And then something like full bore, hammerforged rifling, something like that, or maybe even extended barrel. But just note, Eye of the Storm with Opening Shot or Eye of the Storm with Rangefinder is going to make this hand cannon nasty in PvP. Next up is a lightweight shotgun, the Wastelander M5. Again, this can be obtained from Dares of Eternity or through Xur's Treasure Hoard. Now, honestly, we have great perks here for both PvE and PvP. So on the PvE front, again, if you wanted to pair something like Lead from Gold, again, when you pick up heavy ammo, it's also going to grant you special ammo for this weapon, which is going to be nice. And then pairing that with something like 1-2 Punch. I understand 1-2 Punch was nerfed. That includes Liar's Handshake, Winter's Guile, Worm God Crest, all that stuff. But again, it is still an effective melee build if you want to do this. It still takes out mini bosses, it does great damage to bosses in general. But 1-2 Punch, hitting an enemy with every pellet in a shot increases the melee damage for a short duration. So that's going to be really, really good here. If you want to go on the PvP front, we do have a couple options here. You do have Air Assault again, like we mentioned. We have Slide Shot. Sliding partially reloads the weapon's magazine and temporarily boosts range and stability. We also have Perpetual Motion here, which is going to give us that just bonus to stability handling and reload when we're sprinting. That'll be good here. And then we also have something like Opening Shot, have that improved accuracy and range on the opening shot of attack. But then we also have Harmony. So if you get a kill with like a hand cannon or a pulse rifle or whatever, and then you pull out this shotgun, for example, Harmony will kick in, which will allow for that bonus damage with this shotgun. I wouldn't recommend Fragile Focus, as good as it sounds. The problem with close quarters builds is that you're almost always taking damage. And the thing with this is that you get bonus range until you take damage. That kind of sucks. So if you're in PvP, you're almost always constantly taking damage. So would not recommend Fragile Focus, but again, like I mentioned, good things for both PvE and PvP. Next up, we have Disparity, which is the Season of the Seraph Stasis Pulse Rifle, which is very nice. You can pick this thing up at the exo frame in the helm right here in the middle section. Now, this thing does have a couple of options for PvP, but for PvE, I would probably go with something like Rapid Hit, which again, if we hit precision hits, it's going to increase stability and reload speed. And then pairing that with something like Headstone, again, precision final blow spawn a stasis crystal at the victim's location. So if you have a good, build synergy with, stasis crystals, again, this could come in handy. If you do want to use something like Frenzy, having that increased damage while you're in combat, that'll be good as well. But I would probably mainly use this thing for something like the Crucible. Again, Rapid Hit is easily the best option here in this slot. Having the increase the stability just on hitting precision hits is good, plus having the increase the reload speed on top of that, disgusting. You could go Eye of the Storm as well, but honestly, I think Rapid Hit's going to be great. I wouldn't even go Outlaw. If you have the options between Rapid Hit and Outlaw, go Rapid Hit. Now, trade combo number 2, we do have a couple options here that I like. First up is Desperado. Reloading after a precision final blow increases your rate of fire. Next up is Kill Clip. Yes, we all know it got nerfed, but reloading after a kill grants increased damage. That's going to be great. And then people are talking about Headseeker. Now, Headseeker did get a buff, in Season of the Seraph. So body shots landed with this weapon increase precision damage for a short time. So again, it's not awful, but depending on whether you want, consistency, you know, with Head Seeker, like if you're going to be, you know, having increased stability on precision hits, you know, if you're going to be hitting headshots and not body shots as often, you know, maybe Head Seeker might not be the thing for you. But again, Kill Clip's always a good option. Desperado is always a good option. We have solid options for PvP with this thing. Next up on the list is Heritage. Again, this is from the Deep Stone Crypt raid. Yes, you can get those Deepsight weapons from the Deep Stone Crypt now, which is great. And again, this can be farmed pretty easily. But again, like I said, get it from the Deep Stone Crypt. Now, this does have a solid role for both PvE and PvP. More on the PvE side, but if you want to do like the Crucible PvP, you could do Slide Shot and then pairing that with something like Snapshot, you know, have the, you know, faster aim down sight. It's going to feel real snappy, you know, potentially pairing that with Killing Wind. You know, after that first kill, you're going to get the increase to, you know, mobility, range, and handling for a short duration for the weapon, which could potentially be good in the Crucible. But when it comes to PvE, we have the OG disgusting combo here of Reconstruction. This weapon slowly reloads itself over time up to double the capacity, with Recombination. Elemental Final Blows increase the damage of this weapon's next shot. So any kills you get with an energy weapon or a heavy weapon are going to add to Recombination, and Recombination does big damage on that first shot. Plus, having it auto-reload itself over time just ends up being super, super good. I like Reconstruction over something like auto-loading holster. Like, yes, you could empty out the whole thing, and auto-loading holster will bring the entire magazine back. But if you're in an encounter where you're not going to be using the special weapon that often and you only need it for like a DPS phase or something like that, Reconstruction, having double the magazine size, is going to come in handy a lot. Sticking with the Deep Stone Crypt, we're going to talk about the sniper rifle, the Succession. Again, this is an aggressive frame sniper. Like I said, Deep Stone Crypt raid. Now, honestly, I would strictly focus on using this thing in PvE. It does have an okay PvP role if you wanted to go moving target snapshot or firmly planted snapshot. You could do that, but honestly, PvE, this thing is going to smoke. Again, similar to Heritage, we do have Reconstruction and Recombination, but pairing Reconstruction with something like Firing Line, again, this weapon gains you know, bonus precision damage when you're near 2 or more allies. So anytime you're in strikes, anytime you're in raids, or any activity that has more than 2 people, you're going to have increased damage with this weapon. Or if you want to substitute Firing Line for something like Vorpal Weapon, you know, increased damage to bosses. That's the main thing here. And having a Reconstruction auto-load your magazine over time is going to be fantastic. So honestly, Reconstruction, Firing Line, Reconstruction, Vorpal. Going into the energy weapons, first up, we have the Forbearance. Again, this is the grenade launcher from the Battle of the Disciple. This is a waveframe grenade launcher. It is arc, so this weapon can come with some pretty solid perks. Honestly, there's really only one combination here that just completely destroys over all others. Pairing Ambitious Assassin overflows the magazine based on the number of rapid kills before reloading. No matter what, it's only going to max out to 2 rounds in the magazine. So if you start off with 1, get a kill, reload, you'll have 2 rounds. And again, you could just launch those simultaneously, pretty much just right after the other, which is fantastic. And then pairing that with Chain Reaction, each final kill with the weapon creates an elemental damage explosion. Again, this is really good for ad clear, and especially pairing the Fragment on the Arc subclass, which blinds targets when you're amplified with any Arc special weapon. Having the explosion and blind at the same time is going to be fantastic. Some people could say, hey, you could offer one for all. Again, hitting 3 separate targets increases damage for moderate duration. If you're going to be hitting multiple targets anyway, again, that could help with damage. If you're on an Arc subclass, having Golden Tricorn could be good. You know, Final Blows with the weapon is going to give you bonus damage. And then when you get kills with a grenade or melee on top of that, it's going to increase the damage even more. But honestly, Ambitious Assassin, Chain Reaction is definitely the way to go here. Next up on the list, we have the Calus Mini-Tool. Again, this is from Season of the Haunted, and if you come here to the Crown of Sorrow in the helm, scroll over, boom, Calus Mini-Tool right there to pick up. I'm going to be strictly focusing on PvE for this because in trait call number 2, we have Incandescent. Perfect perk for any of you Solar 3.0 junkies. So defeating a target spreads Scorch to those nearby. More powerful combatants and opposing guardians cause Scorch in a larger radius. So again, being able to spread Scorch, it's really good for ad control and can also cause ignitions, which is really good. Pairing Incandescent with something like Threat Detector, you know, increase reload stability and handling when enemies are in close proximity, or something like Unrelenting. Rapidly defeating targets triggers health regeneration, and guardians and powerful combatants count as more than 1 kill. So again, you can get health back. There's a couple different options here, but highly recommend having Incandescent and looking into a Solar 3.0 build, because this can be nasty. Sticking with Season of the Haunted, let's look at the beloved sniper rifle. Easily an OG sniper, especially for PvP. But if you want it, all you have to do is come to the Crown of Sorrow here in the helm, and it'll be right over here for you to pick up. Now, like I said, we're mostly going to focus on PvP for this thing because it doesn't really have a great strictly, DPS sniper role on this thing. It doesn't come with Vorpal, it doesn't come with Firing Line. It does have 4 times the charm, but the main thing here for PvP that we want to focus on is Snapshot, having the faster aim down sight, and then Quick Draw. This weapon can be drawn unbelievably fast. Yes, we know Quick Draw got nerfed. It's unfortunate, but also having Enhanced Snapshot and Enhanced Quick Draw is probably the best combination you can have for a sniper rifle. If you haven't got, a Eye of Soul Adept or any other sniper rifle that people love to use in PvP, if you don't have this thing, I would highly recommend getting it. It's, going to craft it might be a little bit of a pain, but honestly, it'll be totally worth it if you like using snipers in the Crucible. Another Calus weapon up here is the Drang Baroque. Again, Drang is a sidearm that you can get, and this pairs with the Sturm exotic hand cannon. Most people don't, pair the Drang with Sturm nowadays, but it does have some pretty solid perk options. But if you do want it, come to the Crown of Sorrow here in the helm, and again, if you scroll over, you can pick it up right here. This sidearm has solid perks for both PvE and PvP. In trade call number 2, we have Swashbuckler, Rampage, Incandescent, all solid perks for PvE. Something like Disruption Break in trade call number 1, breaking an enemy shield with this makes them more vulnerable to kinetic damage for a brief period. Like, that's all fine and dandy and all, but this thing in PvP, it still shreds, even though they quote unquote nerf sidearms. Sidearms, especially this sidearm, it's just absolutely disgusting. So again, trade call number 1, I'd look into Eye of the Storm, again, getting that boost to, accuracy and handling when your health gets lower, and then Quick Draw, again, being able to pull this thing out unbelievably fast, and then pairing that with something like Rampage. Again, kills with this weapon temporarily grant increased damage, stacks up to 3 times. Having the increased damage is going to be a huge benefit in something like PvP. Being able to get a kill, and if you still have, bullets left in the magazine, if you're doing the extra damage, you increase the time to kill. More potential for double kills or, even longer streaks. Now that Rampage pretty much has the Rampage spec infused to it, Rampage does last longer, so you can keep that in mind there. But honestly, Eye of the Storm Rampage or Quick Draw Rampage is going to be the way to go for PvP. For our Halo people, the BXR Battler is going to be the next up on our list here. So again, since it is tied to the 30th anniversary, you can get it from Dares of Eternity and also Xur's Treasure Hoard. Now, honestly, this thing has great perks for both PvE and PvP. So going over PvE, first thing that sticks out to me is Demolitionist. Getting kills with the weapon is going to generate grenade energy. That's going to be fantastic. And then pairing that with something like Incandescent. This is a solar pulse rifle, so again, when we get those kills, it's going to spread Scorch. And every time that happens, again, more grenade energy. You could pair Demolitionist with Adrenaline Junkie, both grenade perks allowing for grenade regen and damage from grenades and reload from grenades, which can potentially come in handy. Now, going over the PvP side of things, honestly, I would look into Perpetual Motion. Again, having the increased stability and handling after sprinting, it's going to be fantastic. Outlaw wouldn't be a bad option here. Precision kills greatly decrease reload time, potentially even Snapshot to make this weapon pretty snappy, but if I'm being honest, it already feels pretty snappy in its own right. So next up, trade call number 2. There's a couple of options here. So we do have Elemental Capacitor, which is going to give us a variety of bonuses depending on what, subclass we're rocking here. We do have Eye of the Storm, which again is going to become more accurate and boost handling when our health gets lower. Kill Clip, which honestly I think is probably one of the best options here. Reloading after a kill is going to give us that increased damage. And then we have an interesting one. Okay, this is probably the most Halo type perk ever. So Blunt Execution Rounds. Damaging nearby combatants with melee abilities dramatically increases handling and damage, expires after a short duration or the next shot. So pretty much it's kind of like getting the melee in Halo and then shooting and then dropping your opponent. That's what Blunt Execution Rounds pretty much is. So again, if you do want to focus on melee, whether it's a ranged melee or up close melee, and then using this pulse rifle again, you can do what you want. But there are a variety of perks here that are going to be good for both PvE and PvP. Next here on the list is the IKELOS SMG. Again, this is the 3rd iteration. That's why there's a 3 here. But this thing can come with some pretty solid perks here. But if you want it, get it at the exo frame and the helm right over here. I have seen this weapon in both PvE and PvP. It shreds in both activities. So first up, let's just go over PvE to knock this out. Trade call number 2, probably one of the best perks here, Volt Shot. Reloading this weapon after defeating a target overcharges this weapon for a short period of time, causing it to jolt on its next hit. So if you have any build that's focused on jolt, arc 3.0, or just want something that could potentially wipe out a bunch of targets with, arc damage, Volt Shot is going to be the perk you want. You can also substitute that for something like Frenzy, having that increased, damage handling and reload speed for a short duration while you're, not a short duration, but while you're in combat, you know what I mean. And then pairing that in trade call number 1 with something like Threat Detector, having the increase to reload speed, stability, and handling when enemies are in close proximity. I wouldn't recommend Feeding Frenzy, but I would look into Shoot to Loot. This one's interesting. So, shooting an ammo brick picks it up and automatically reloads all weapons, equipped weapons from reserves. Since we don't have primary ammo dropping anymore, you would have to shoot a special or a heavy brick to basically have the auto reload. So that's why I'd probably offer something like Threat Detector. You're automatically have the bonus when enemies are near you. So maybe just do that. Going over PvP. We have two options in trade call number 1, in my opinion. Dynamic Sway Reduction improves accuracy and stability while continuously holding down the trigger, and then Perpetual Motion. We mentioned that a couple times here. And then trade call number 2, Range Finder. As we know, SMGs do not have a lot of range, so having more range is going to be even more fantastic. So again, Amulet's weapon is going to increase its range and zoom. I know, like we said, not a lot of people like the extra zoom. It is what it is. But I've seen this, like I said, I've seen this thing shred in both PvE and PvP. It's going to be a good all-around SMG that you're definitely going to want, and especially with Seraph rounds. I understand Seraph rounds got nerfed to a degree, but again, Seraph rounds is still a very good magazine perk as well. All right, moving on to heavy weapons. First up, we have the Cataclysmic. Again, this is a linear fusion rifle that you can get from the Vow of the Disciple. Now, don't worry about using this thing for PvP. This thing in PvE absolutely shreds. Look into, first up, 4 times the charm enhanced. Again, rapidly landing precision hits will return 2 rounds to the magazine. It typically is 4 hits will return 2, but again, with it enhanced, it has to offer a little bit of a bonus, right? And then in trade call number 2, we have Bait and Switch. Deal damage with all weapons within a short time to give this weapon a damage boost. So again, do damage with your kinetic and energy weapon, switch to this one, and after that first shot, it'll be able to do even more damage on top of 4 times the charm line for more bullets in the magazine, as long as you hit those precision shots. Now, I know people could be like, hey, you could use Focus Fury, but again, you're only going to get that bonus damage on the second half of the magazine, and that's only if you hit those precision shots. And then you can look into high impact reserves, but again, rounds at the end of the magazine deal more damage. Bait and Switch is just a better option. Yes, it takes a little longer to tee it up, but again, if you can do that, Bait and Switch with 4 times the charm is definitely going to be the way to go. You've been hearing a lot about this rocket launcher in the past couple weeks, the Bump in the Night, the Stasis rocket launcher. Again, this is from Season of the Haunted, so if you do want it, just come to the Crown of Sorrow over here, scroll over, and it'll be here at the bottom under Haunted Weapon Focusing. Now, on top of this thing having great perks for damage, like to bosses and PvE activities, again, trade call number 1, auto-loading holster, field prep so you have more ammo and increased reload speed when you're crouching, demolitionist, so when you launch the one rocket, you throw a grenade, again, it'll automatically reload it so you can just launch it again. Again, trade call number 2, we also have Vorpal Weapon here, which, you know, doing extra damage is great, but the thing is Chill Clip. So Chill Clip whenever, you know, at the top half of the magazine, so this thing only has 1 shot anyway, at the detonation, it slows nearby targets. So adding that slow onto a boss is going to allow for a damage bonus from any of those other weapons. So that's completely wild. Someone figured this out like a couple of weeks ago. And the reason you want to go for the Bump of the Night over the Palmera B, Hake rocket launcher is because since it's a Hake rocket launcher, it intrinsically comes with tracking, which for some reason gives it a minus 10% damage just from the rocket in general. So that's why people are opting for Bump in the Night. So again, the combo here that I've seen is Demolitionist and Chill Clip enhanced. Next up on the list here is the Type-In 4FR, which you only need 2 red borders for. You don't need 5, it's only 2. I lied about there being only 1 weapon here in this list, but this one does. So I'm not sure if the quest is still available, but you can automatically pick up like 1 deep sight or go automatically deep sight this weapon with one of the quests, so you don't need the 2 to deep sight this weapon. But again, unfortunately, the Type-In is a random drop, so it's not from any specific vendor with a red border, anything like that, unfortunately. So it does only require 2, which I guess is okay, but you just have to keep that in mind. Now, the only thing you want to focus on here is PvE. And first up is Triple Tap. Rapidly landing precision hits will return 1 round to the magazine. Typically, it's 3 headshots for 1 round, but again, it has to be improved somehow. Keep that in mind. And then pairing that with Firing Line. Again, if you're with 2 or more allies, it's going to give you that bonus precision damage. So if you're in strikes, raids, whatever activity that has multiple people, you're going to have that bonus damage as long as you are near 2 or more allies. Triple Tap, Firing Line, that's all you need to know. Next up on the list here, we have the Retrofit Escapade. Yes, we've been hearing a lot about this weapon too as well. Again, if you do want this is from Season of the Seraph, so again, just go to the exo frame here in the middle column under Umbral Focusing Weapons. It'll be right here at the end. Now, I always say the main thing is that this machine gun comes with 4 times the charm. Again, rapidly landing precision hits will return 2 rounds of the magazine. On top of Target Lock, this was a new perk that was added this season, but damage increases the longer this weapon remains on a target. So again, it's really good for boss DPS, and since it is a void machine gun, you can pair volatile rounds, which will do even more damage on top of this thing. Yes, we know volatile rounds are going to get nerfed in Lightfall, but they're going to come with other benefits as well, like stunning anti-barrier champions, and acting like it's still going to be bad. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's still going to have really good synergy for those volatile rounds builds, which I did drop a video on, so I'll put that in the description. I basically gave a build for each class, the Warlock, the Hunter, and the Titan, on how to proc volatile rounds easily and constantly, so you can have those volatile rounds on all your weapons. But again, 4 times the charm target lock here on the Retrofit. Another machine gun we're going to talk about is the Commemoration. Again, this is from the Deepstone Crypt raid. Now this thing, say the least, has really good perks for PvE. Absolutely disgusting. It is a void machine gun, so like I mentioned with Retrofit, you can use this thing with volatile rounds effectively. There's so many good perks. Straight call number 1, we have subsistence here. You know, getting those kills is going to refill the magazine. Reconstruction, again, it's going to double the capacity of the magazine here. And then it's something like 4 times the charm. Again, rapidly relanding precision hits will refund 2 rounds to the magazine. And then trade column number 2. We haven't seen this perk in a while, at least like on a machine gun, but Killing Tally. Final blows increases weapon damage until it is stowed or reloaded, improves the magazine size. We also have Firing Line here. Again, this weapon deals increased precision damage when near 2 or more allies. So pairing Firing Line with like 4 times the charm or Firing Line with Reconstruction can potentially be extremely good here. And then also pairing Subsistence, you know, maybe, but Reconstruction and Killing Tally. That's going to be the big one here. All right, so having this thing get auto-reloaded from Reconstruction, having it slowly reload itself, getting kills with this thing, final blows increasing the damage. You can max out the damage and just leave this machine gun out. As long as you don't stow it, you can still run around with it and have Killing Tallies damage up pretty much indefinitely, which is going to be great. So honestly, I would pair up something like Reconstruction and Killing Tally, or if you wanted to go, you know, specifically boss damage, you could do 4 times the charm with Firing Line. But yeah, this Killing Tally Reconstruction thing might be absolutely disgusting for ad clear and even taking out like mini bosses and just tougher opponents in general. Now the last weapon I want to talk about is kind of a 2-in-1 here, but it is the swords from the 30th anniversary. We have the Half Truce here, which again, this is the Arc Sword. Then we have the other half, which is the Void Sword. Again, the other half only requires 1 deep sight, so 1 red border to be able to craft it, with Half Truce requiring 5. So again, either one is fine, it doesn't really matter, but the main thing here is having the perk called Eager Edge. Gain increased sword lunge distance immediately after switching to this weapon. I feel like a lot of people like increased movement, especially being able to, you know, jump over gaps, having that increase. If you can do the swing and then switching weapons so you can like go farther, again, that's always going to help here. Having an Eager Edge sword, I feel like it's just like one of those staple things that you need if you need help with jumping or just want to speed through something. As much as I don't like using an Eager Edge sword a lot of the time when it comes to activities, but if you're just doing like a low end activity, or if you're having trouble with a jumping puzzle, an Eager Edge sword can help you out a lot. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the 20 Deepsight weapons I would recommend you look into picking up before Lightfall comes out. Like I mentioned, these are in no particular order. There's no ranking. If you don't want to pick some of these ones up, that's totally fine. It's all dependent on how you want to play the game, which I completely understand. If you think that I missed a craftable weapon that you like, put that in the comments. Like, obviously, there's a lot of craftable weapons in this game. These are just the ones that really stood out to me, that have a lot of utility right now, and I believe are going to have a lot of utility build-wise and damage-wise, all that great stuff when Lightfall comes out. In any event, if you believe that this video was informational, it helps you out, whatever, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then also turn on the bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another video here on the channel. If you didn't know, we actually stream 3 days a week here on YouTube, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern here. It's DaveTVGaming. Again, we're mostly playing Destiny 2, but I'm also going to be playing other games. We have some new games that are coming out before Lightfall that I want to play before we, pretty much grind our life away on that. So again, if you want to pop in, say hi, again, just hop in the stream. If we are doing Destiny 2 activities, I typically am doing them with the community, whether they're raids, dungeons, PvP, whatever. If you want to join and be proactive, again, just hop in the chat and join my Discord. That link will be in the description. Again, we have mostly Destiny 2 topics, but again, we have other stuff in there like anime, PC tech, and more. Lastly, if you didn't know, we hit YouTube Partner, which is awesome. It's given us a lot of benefits here on the channel. One of those things being memberships. If you don't know what a membership is, essentially it is like a Twitch subscription. Again, you're going to get access to emotes, the monthly badges, and other exclusive things here on the channel. So if you'd like more information, all you have to do is press the join button next to subscribe, and that will give you all the details you need. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.